Paulie, so glad you're here. And you did something that has been tough for so many people. You took a year that has been a whole bunch of nothing and made something just incredible out of this. Paulie, I'm so impressed with the new record. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely, Bobby. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I think the way that I've kind of rolled it out is getting a cancer diagnosis in the middle of a global pandemic adds a few complications to life. So
yeah,
I had this idea for a number of years. I'm a musician. I play a lot of different instruments, and I had this idea for a concept album years ago. And then when the pandemic hit and none of my musician friends were allowed in my jam room anymore, I thought, well, man, I should take it on. Why don't I do this album that I've been wanting to do? And then, pretty fresh into the pandemic, I got that call, that news you don't ever want to get from your doctor, and found out I had this lymphoma diagnosis, and just realized. It's weird, you go through all these different levels, and all of a sudden the album just got profoundly more important to me. I found that I needed to pour my heart into something that was full of lightness, full of love, full of creativity. Because when I wasn't in that space, it was pretty easy to go to a scared, dark place.
Paulie,
and quite honestly,
I think that's what's so amazing about your story is that diagnosis would have just stopped most people in their tracks and just been paralyzed from there. What do I do? What can I do? And that feeling of hopelessness, but you turn that into creativity and an impetus to get going.
Yeah, and I think overall that's probably my most proud outcome. If you would have asked me a couple of years ago, I would have said what you just said. I would have thought if I would have gotten that diagnosis, I just would have laid in bed and cried for 9 months. And it's funny. It's funny what something like this does, right? I was thinking about it the other day, and it was my diagnosis made me the most present I've ever been. I found if I looked too far ahead, I would get scared. If I looked too far behind, I'd get nostalgic. If I just stayed right in the day, if I stayed right in the moment, and again, writing this album and playing all the instruments on the album and all the takes, all of the recording that I did, all while feeling pretty yucky, it was just a really immersive distraction. And so, just got to make art and got to. It's just funny that cancer gave me artistic purpose, I guess.
You took something potentially terrible and made something great out of it. And this record is, you mentioned immersive. That's what this record was for me. You played all the instruments on it and you produced it, and there's just a lot of, it's ear candy is really what it is. And then the lyrics take it to a whole different level.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, anybody that goes to my site can read a pretty expansive story on the background. I had never had any luck writing music, and the concept part of the album, I realized that I wasn't very good at writing from my voice, and so I got the inspiration to write from a character in a movie. And then I kind of took that from there and ballooned that into, well, that could be a whole album, right? And realizing that if that was a whole album, it's got to be a concept album. So I made all these ridiculous rules for myself that you can read about on my site. And, all the choruses from each song is a direct quote from these characters in the movies. And, it's a continuous run of an hour and a minute. It's pretty epic. I actually asked one of my family member of mine, a man of few words. I asked him what the genre was because I wanted to pitch it from the genre, and he said, "Well, I just tell people it's like getting cancer." And I thought, well, geez, that's kind of abrupt. And then as I processed that, it made me realize, that's a really good way to describe it, because at times it's gentle and sweet. Sometimes, I put a lot of dissonance, and I put a lot of texture, and I put a lot of, there's times when it's a burning rock tune. There's times when it's a funk tune. There's times when it's a gentle folk song. I just kind of cover all the bases, and I think that's what my experience was with this diagnosis, right? I was immunocompromised. I couldn't hug my mom in the middle of it. I wasn't able to go out for coffee with friends, and I just realized that it was something I could pour into, and I took it all kinds of directions. So, ear candy is a really fun way to describe that. That's sweet of you.
Well, and I think lyrically, and I can't wait, Paulie, to dig into this. And I think it's like those Russian nesting dolls with Easter egg after Easter egg after Easter egg all through the record.
Yeah. There's, I made the rule for myself that every chorus had to be a direct quote, as I mentioned. But I also found that a lot of verses, and I do everything I can to keep it abstract, because I do believe that music is such a subjective thing, and I think listeners connect to particular words or phrases and musical content that's resonant for them, and so I wanted everybody to have a fairly subjective experience with the record. I didn't want them to immediately know, like, oh yeah, he's singing from this character from this movie. I wanted to make people earn those stripes a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have the luxury of sleeping a lot through this diagnosis. So, middle of the night, I'd go down and I'd start recording some stuff, and I'd work on lyrics, and I found myself just adding a lot of layers and a lot of complexity, and I think that shows in the end product, right? Like, if
absolutely,
I write in my story, like, my blue sky vision, right? Because in 2021, like, who listens to a full album anymore? And I wrote this little line of, like, will you just take an hour for you and put some headphones on? And actually, no, take an hour for us. Put some headphones on, lay on your couch, close your eyes, and just hang out with me for an hour, because it's a wild ride.
And I hope we have piqued your interest in this record, because it's available today on Bandcamp and PaulieCohen.com. And we've got those links on the RKR app and at WRKR.com. And Paulie, instead of just a GoFundMe and a handout, you've offered this record to help offset some of the medical costs.
Yeah, I wrote this record for me. I had no plan to share this one with anyone. This was something to keep myself busy. And then as I started getting further along, I realized that, my friends and, people I've known need to hear this. Up until last week, I just started thinking bigger, right? Which led me to reaching out and sharing the record with some people that I don't know. And yeah, I decided that it would be good to, I'm putting it up for free because I just honestly want people to hear it. And yeah, the luxury of Bandcamp is that you can name your price as a consumer. So it's there for free. If anybody decides, like, yeah, I want to throw some money at Paulie for his effort and to help him move forward, I'm forever grateful. It would be really slick.
Absolutely. So we hope that works. Hey, can I ask, is it appropriate, Paulie, how things look today from medically? What's the future for you?
Yeah, it's I'm doing what I can to just keep manifesting positivity. Early on in this process, with a diagnosis like this, it's really easy to go into a why me. And when I realized that I could flip that script to why not me, and it just gave me the opportunity to handle it a little bit better. And I'm trying to ride that wave. This stuff's tricky. There was my last round of chemo was in early January. I had some residual stuff show up on the PET scan that was of concern, so I've been closely monitored. I was just at Bronson yesterday with another CT scan. So now I get to sit around and think about it for the weekend. But I hope to keep getting good news, and even if I don't, that's what this ride is. This is all part of it. And if I don't find strength and positivity and purpose, and if I don't learn from this, then what's the point, right? So I'm trying to face it with as much bravery as I can, and try and cry hard and be scared other times too. So I yin my yang, and just the ride. It's pretty wild. Not anything I would be expecting to do at this stage of my life, but also I'm not the first person to go through this, and it's thankfully I have a really amazing medical team that I get to work with, people I love and trust, and my family, my tribe, my village. How I just really believe that if we treated everyone in the world the way that we treat a cancer patient, there really wouldn't even be cancer anymore, because you're just filled with love all the time. People take such great care of me.
Paulie, it's such an incredible story. And I don't know what's better, your story and your attitude or this record. And I'm a fan. I just got to tell you, thank you so much for sharing this music and your journey and just the whole incredible process and that attitude. We need more of you in this world.
Oh, Bobby, that's so sweet of you. Thank you so much. It was, this pleasure is all mine. And, I hope that the album brings some, the story of the album, I hope all of this just brings a little bit of joy and inspiration to anybody out there. And, and especially anybody who's faced with a health challenge. Really honestly, find me. All my contact info is out there. I'll go for a walk with you or a call, and we can talk about it, because you don't really know what this is like until you go through it. And, if I can help anybody at any point, I'm on board, especially all of our friends here in Kalamazoo. We have to take care of each other.
You're a great man, Paulie Cohen.
Yeah, you're a great man, Bobby Guy. Thank you.